Today I'm going to talk about the 3 traits of a conscious man. Of course, there are more traits to a conscious man. However, these 3 are incredibly important. As a man listening, you will learn practical steps today that you can take immediately after this episode if you sense that you are missing any of these traits, as these traits truly define a man. And this episode is not just for men. As a woman listening, you will learn to discern where a man is at in his spiritual journey. Trait number 1. A conscious man is in service to something greater than himself. Ambition and drive are great traits, but being in service to something greater than ourselves is what truly defines our mission, our purpose, our drive, our intention in the world. What does it mean to be in service to something greater than ourselves? It means that this is not about some self-centered goal. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious and having specific goals you want to create for yourself. However, at the deepest level, what you do in this life, what your purpose in this life, what you spend the most time with, ideally, should be something that is in service to something greater than yourself. And this doesn't mean that it has to be a specific thing. What it means is that you have to find the deeper service in that. You don't have to do what I do or what someone else does in order to be in service. Because at the deepest level, it's your energy that serves others. Your presence, your heart-centeredness, your grounding, we can call it your masculine presence, the depth that you bring to this world. Now, my question to you is, at the end of the day, when you hit the pillow, have you served? And do you feel that you are serving the world with something deeper? Because if the answer is no, then you will always feel that something is missing in your life. And again, this is not about the what you do. It's about that you find the deeper meaning and deeper service in what you do. Because anything can turn into deeper service and anything can become self-centered. A spiritual teacher can say, okay, I want to be in service to something greater than myself, but then the goals become solely self-centered. At the same time, someone who is in sales or marketing can be in deeper service. And it's not just about self-centeredness. So what I'm essentially saying here, it's not the what that defines us, it's the deeper service and the deeper intention and the presence and energy that we bring to it. It's how we show up. And sometimes the what we do needs to change, because the what you do does not allow you to be in deeper service. However, that's a journey. You might not be able to switch to that immediately, and you want to make wise decisions. But if that's the case, then you of course want to start to put energy towards what it is that you want to create, to move closer to it and then to make the transition. But it's a different topic essentially. What I want to describe here is that a conscious man is in service to something greater than himself. I can tell you a little bit here about my own journey because this really ties into this episode. All my life, I didn't know exactly what I'm going to do. I never made the decision, hey, I'm gonna be the guy who talks about the awakened masculine, the awakened feminine, about conscious relationships, about spiritual awakening, about shadow work. I never made a decision, that's what I'm going to do. I was called to do this. But one decision I did make, and that is, no matter what happens, I am going to serve. I knew that all my life. I am going to serve. And I put all my energy into finding my deepest service. Was the journey tough? Did I spend years in solitude often and wandering in nature, meditating, walking, and feeling lost and not knowing what on earth I'm doing, but sensing that a deeper service wants to move through me? Yes, it was incredibly tough. And I'm not saying this is an easy journey, but I'm saying that what called me and what calls every single man is the desire to be in service to something greater than ourselves. It doesn't matter whether you run a business, whether you work for a company, whether you're a coach. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but you want to be in service to this universe, to God, to spirit, whatever name you prefer. For me, the essence is always the same. It all leads to the same. So I noticed that until I found that deep service, I would continue to feel this deeper insecurity inside me. Every man who hasn't yet found his deep purpose, his deep why, and his deep mission in this life will feel a sense of shakiness, nervousness, fear, insecurity, and doubt. I'm not saying these things will be 100% eliminated and you are perfectly enlightened when you have found your service. However, I will say that a big part of that will be transcended, because here is the key thing. Through our service, we transcend our fears, we transcend our limitations, because this is in service to something greater than ourselves. Now we are working with spirit, and the energy of spirit works through us. We are the vessel, and as this energy works through us, we transcend our perceived limitations, because guess what? Your fears and limitations are not stronger than the calling of spirit that rests inside your heart, that rests in the heart of each man. As long as you don't follow the call, you're going to be drained, you're going to be tired. And your tiredness might have to do with not sleeping enough and all of that, but often it is a tiredness of the soul. The soul is tired because the soul says, I am not doing what I'm born to fucking do. So get your ass on the mat. Get your ass in nature. Get out there and give absolutely everything to follow that deeper calling. I don't know when you're going to find it, exactly how it's going to happen, but I do tell you, when you make this your life's commitment, it becomes inevitable. And this service extends also not just to our mission, it extends to our loved ones. Our beloved, when you find the right woman by your side in deep union, which amplifies you and amplifies you both in every possible way, the greatest gift a man can have is to have a conscious woman by his side. The greatest gift I have ever received from this universe, from spirit, is my wife. She is my deepest muse, and she is what inspires me at the deepest level. To show up, to be in deepest service, and to give everything, because there is so much meaning. And when you find the right woman, then your service extends to serving her and the relationship, not by putting her on a pedestal, but by honoring her, by honoring your divine union. How do you serve? You serve through your presence. You serve through your breath. You serve through the energy that you bring. The reason why you most likely listen to this podcast, the reason why you follow my teachings is, yes, the information, but it's also the energy behind that. This is what I live. This is what I breathe. This is why I'm so incredibly passionate about it. And even the word passion is not enough. Because a passion can change. This is a deeper calling. This is what I am meant to do right now, at this moment in time and space. So, trait number 1, a conscious man is in service to something greater than himself. This includes service to his loved ones. Now, if you feel that you're not in service, then there is a simple approach. Number 1, commit yourself to giving absolutely everything and to spending any free time you have, any little reserve of energy that you have, and of course take care of yourself, but any little reserve of energy you have needs to be focused on finding your deepest calling. And finding your deepest calling doesn't always mean that you do a lot of things. It can mean that you do a lot of things, but it also means finding stillness. Becoming still. I was called to go into nature, away from people, away from opinions, away from everything. And in that silence of the heart, in that silence of nature, a deeper truth, a deeper calling emerges within you. So this is not just about trying all kinds of things. If you're on the path of finding, go into nature, hikes, long walks. You can't be in nature, go to this park, find the pond, sit there, find any place where you can be in solitude. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are or what your circumstances are. You can find a way to be in solitude somehow in nature. It is impossible not to. Or at least for most people, it will be impossible not to. But stillness within is always possible. Now also you have to focus on the big question that you have to ask. Everything you commit to, everything you do needs to be driven by a deeper question. Does this allow me to serve deeper? Is this in service to my calling? And this is not self-centered. This is not egotism. No, this is the universe. Is this in service that I can serve the universe, God's Spirit, and those around me? So when you cut people out of your life, when you remove yourself from places, you're not being mean or a bad person. You are devoted to Spirit. You are moving into alignment. Step number 1, commit yourself fully to it. Find solitude in nature. Allow a deeper calling to emerge within you. Don't just try things. Try things and then also allow that time to reflect, to go deep inside yourself. And I tell you, it becomes inevitable. Because if you say either this or nothing, this is where I go, this is plan A and there is no plan B, this is where I'm going, I will find it, then it becomes inevitable. And the second is, everything you commit, everything you do, does this allow me to serve deeper? And if the answer is no, then fuck it. Or at least, if you are in a commitment, whatever it is, could be work-wise, I understand you can't do that immediately and all of that, but try to find a way gracefully out as soon as possible that doesn't put you into a really tough position. Make wise decisions, but the wisest decision you can ever make is to follow that deeper calling. Trait number 2. The conscious man has a relentless commitment to truth. Living your truth, speaking your truth, embodying your truth. As conscious men, we are protectors and warriors of truth. At a certain point of awakening in a man's spiritual journey, he can no longer lie, he can no longer deceive, he can no longer keep secrets. He can only live according to the principle and virtue of truth. This is not a value, this is a virtue. My virtue is truth. And integrity is truth ultimately. It entails many things. And truth is love as well. Because how can the highest truth not be love and vice versa? So the highest virtue is truth. And this means a conscious man will always speak and live his truth. And even though that sounds amazing now for the women listening, this can be challenging. Because as a conscious man, we can call it the sword of truth. You always hear me speaking about the feminine oracle and the intuition and how important it is for us men to receive it and to be open to it and to allow that to sharpen our awareness and our consciousness. However, if our boundaries are being crossed, if we are treated in a disrespectful way that is not honoring, that is not kind, that is not rooted in respect, then our sword of truth will emerge within a second. And the sword of truth is not aggressive. It's grounded and fiercely loving, but nevertheless, it is immensely powerful and it is immensely fierce. So, not everyone is ready for that. People say, oh, I want a conscious man or conscious masculinity. Yes, but not everyone is ready for this sword of truth. There is no appeasing. And for a woman who operates from wounding, who wants a man to appease her in order to feel better about herself, she will be triggered deeply and feel her shadow being exposed with a conscious man. So a conscious man is very, very capable of setting boundaries. These boundaries are very clear. He's very clear in his communication, in his speech. He lives according to the virtue of truth. And he will not stay in places that do not align with the virtue of truth. Yet, those places where it aligns with the virtue of truth, he will commit his life and soul. He would be willing to die for it. A conscious man is excited by nothing but the highest truth. And the highest truth he will commit to. This means When a relationship is in alignment, he will commit and dedicate his heart and soul to it and is willing to die for the woman, for the union, and for his mission. And this is an energy that's palpable. This is an energy that can be viscerally felt. And trait number 3, a conscious man embraces stillness as his ally. Rather than spirituality being high up in the clouds, it's all about how can I ground this? How can I become still amidst the storm that I experience, emotional or whatever is going on? In the level and depth of a man's ability to face himself in stillness correlates with the depth and meaning he is able to create in his life and relationships and the depth of his service. So what I always say to men, stop focusing on the spiritual fluff. Instead, focus on the things that actually matter. And that is, for and foremost, to learn to ground yourself. How do you ground yourself? You become still. You learn to face yourself in stillness. No music, no distraction. Just you and stillness. It's easy to do in nature, but don't get dependent on nature. You want to develop the spiritual and warrior's muscle to be able to access this at any time. It's not easy, but whenever I notice getting hectic, getting anxious, I give my best to seek that stillness wherever I am and whatever is going on in my life. These are the 3 traits. I'm going to summarize here. Trait number 1, a conscious man is in service to something greater than himself. And all his commitment, all his energy goes towards serving. If he doesn't serve, something is always missing. And it's like a house without a fundament built with sand. The fundament and foundation that defines a man is his deeper service. It's not the what, it's how he shows up. Number 2, a conscious man is relentlessly committed to the highest truth. This is not just a value of his, it's his virtue, it's his compass. He's a warrior of truth. He will devote himself to everything that aligns with truth, and he will sometimes, not abruptly, but sometimes quite fiercely, cut away and remove himself from all that does not resemble truth. With integrity, with honor, but he knows he's in service to something greater than himself. There's no time to waste. And number 3, a conscious man does not focus on the spiritual fluff, but he faces himself in stillness. And whenever he notices he's getting lost in the thoughts, lost in the anxiety, lost in the challenges, that's when he actively seeks that stillness and grounds himself. There's so many practices that I teach around this. How to connect with your mission, how to be in deepest service, how to shift the energy within you, how to align your life and live your life according to truth, how to actually ground yourself, all these things and much more. I teach this in my men's groups. I teach this in my programs. Now, I've got other free offerings as well. You can check them out in the show notes, or you can visit lorinkren.com, lorinkren.com/newsletter. You can subscribe to my free newsletter that comes out every Friday, where I focus on a different topic, give in-depth value around it. It's entirely for free. You can join that. Once again, thank you so much for being here. It is an honor to be of service.